All right, here we go. Off the Rails Friday. The Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, David Sis, Boom Ba. Got 2 hours, guys. 2 hours. And we're jam-packed once again.
This is our last 2-hour show.
Yes, as we will move to a new slot come Tuesday, not Monday. Monday is a holiday.
Yes, it is.
So Tuesday, Sammy, where are we going?
Sorry, they're just buzzing in my ear.
Yeah, no. What's our time slot going forward?
3 to 4.
3 to 4.
3 to 4.
Yeah,
no,
3 to 4.
This is the death of the Leafs hour.
But I do think that,
We're going to talk some.
I mean, if the Leafs announce Craig Berube on Monday or Tuesday, we might be 2 hours again, boys. So
Yeah.
We got plenty on that. We got plenty on the Rangers, plenty on Vancouver and Edmonton. But because it's off the rails Friday, I'm gonna push it right off the road right now with this really bizarre story we woke up to with the number one golfer in the world. And listen, I know we're an NHL show and we're going to get to it, but I can't ever recall ever hearing anything in my life, and I've been around a lot longer than you guys, where an athlete would go through something what Scotty Scheffler went through this morning.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he finished with for a score. Was he -6 today?
it was 66 today.
66.
He shot 66 in a PGA major.
No, part 71.
Yeah.
Yeah, -5, 66, yeah.
That's off the charts.
On any day of your life.
Like that is one of the best performances coming off an arrest in sport history.
No, it's the best performance coming off an arrest. How many -5 rounds will he shoot in his life in a major? I don't know. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 15,
Many.
but it's not many better than that.
I woke up this morning and I was looking at my phone, and our beloved Brent Gunning, who works on the Fan Morning Show, is clearly all over this. Like, it's breaking as they're on air. And I looked at my phone and I saw like the image of like Scotty Scheffler arrested, and like I thought it was Kyper. Like, I was in my delusion. I thought he was playing around with our AI and with our WhatsApp group. I was like, what is this? Like, is this? It was the most improbable thing. I'm like, what possibly could have happened?
The most wholesome human on the planet.
But it's not improbable if he's coming out of a bar.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that was my first thought. I was like, oh, no.
Like, you're
like,
thinking strip joint, bar,
what do you do?
Poker game.
DUI was the first thought.
Yeah,
Like, first thing.
Yeah.
Under the...
It's like, no, he was trying to get into the golf course to golf the ball.
A casino. Give me something.
Yeah.
And apparently the misunderstanding was he thought that the cop was a security guard. And they showed pictures of the security guards wearing the yellow jackets. They had the exact same as the cop. And the cop maybe like jumped onto the car a little bit as he was still moving. Like, there was a whole
his hand in the window or something.
And then grabbed Jeff Darlington, who was an ESPN NFL reporter, witnessed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he did an incredible job of breaking it down and talking about it or whatever. I mean, he gets out in time, gets to his first tee time, and I saw somebody tweet, I don't have children, so this wouldn't apply to me, but it's like, welcome to the world of being a father where you sprint through every single tee time.
What's hilarious is I did play golf today, and I was rushing out, trying to get my son out to school as I'm reading about Scheffler, and I was like, this is me. Except I didn't get charged with a felony today, which was good. He got charged with a felony.
Yeah, I know.
For assaulting a police officer.
I would assume that these charges were going to be dropped. Like, I apparently he was joking around with some of the guys at the precinct, but I mean, imagine being, I said this on the morning show today, but like, imagine being the police chief in Louisville, and like your phone
Doug,
rings.
what did you do?
Imagine being the cop that charged him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the cop had his convictions or whatever, and he thought he was in the right. But the police chief has to deal with it.
I
wasn't there.
He's got to come up with an assault.
I wasn't there. I don't know. He grabbed onto him. I don't know. But he's in his conviction. But the chief's like, what did Doug do?
So which golfer was it? Was it Scotty Scheffler?
Hey,
hand in your gun and badge, pal.
There's got to be like 150 golfers that would have said, I can't believe that wasn't me.
I know.
Under any other circumstance.
The best golfer on the planet.
Yeah, and now, when Scotty Scheffler inevitably wins this golf tournament, Jim Nantz on the final call.
You got it already?
I do, yeah. You want to hear it?
Let's hear it.
Out of the shackles and back into the winner's circle.
What's amazing too is he hold his first shot.
You're never calling golf in your life.
He holed his first iron shot of the tournament, and the call at the time from Nance was, "Hello, Dad." Because he had been a new father for like a week. So he just had a kid, won a major, got arrested, is leading a major.
Well, not leading.
He's
He's
living
Second
life.
race. This guy's
That's living life.
love the man. Love the man.
Anyways, all right.
There you go.
Sure,
Off the
there's
rails
plenty
Friday.
more fun to come from it. Like the jokes will go
Dude,
on
the memes are
forever.
unbelievable.
There's certain days on the internet.
I thought,
the
I just
internet
thought,
today is
you know,
fun.
he was wearing an all white top, just a few
Should've
black
gone-
stripes down.
He should have
just
gone,
a couple of
or Ricky
stripes.
Fowler go all orange, like the jumpsuit he wore in his mugshot would have been good too.
I was gonna say, how quickly did you get into the orange jumpsuit? Like, and he had like a deep V going on. I'm like,
They only come in deep V's.
Where
There's no
did it-
crew jumpsuit.
Where did it go, though, from the ride in where we've got the number one golfer in the world? There's been
Yeah.
a major misunderstanding, but we're going to put you in this orange jumpsuit,
I know.
and we're still going to take a picture of you.
I guess there was like a serious incident out front that caused the traffic that he was trying to
someone
drive
died.
around. Someone actually,
yeah, there's a person that got hit and died, and then there was like a huge.
So he's trying to drive
Yeah.
around the
Yes.
fracas to, win a major championship, and they didn't like that he went around.
Well, Darlington said in his reporting that they were allowing players and coaches in.
Well, sure.
They were allowing those people into the course, and then he probably was like, "I'm a player and with my coach,
Yeah.
I'm going to go in."
This
Anyways.
changes the way I drive forever. I will never cut in on a pylon ever again.
No.
If this can happen to the number one golfer in the world, then we can't.
There was actually
we-
fans there in orange jumpsuits today. Like they got it.
I mean, there's already free Scotty shirts with
Yeah.
him in a like. I would wear that
if
shirt.
this
100%.
guy gets hit with a felony, no chance.
Yeah,
no
no
chance.
way.
Okay, well, wherever you're watching and listening, Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6. Glad you're aboard. And today is Off the Rails Friday, so give us a text. We will be taking plenty of texts.
Please text.
On the show today, we will welcome in Joey Kenward from Sportsnet 650 out in Vancouver. We'll get the latest on his thoughts in that series. We'll also have Doug MacLean at the top of the hour, which is always fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We'll see if he follows directions to get into the golf course in Florida or in PEI. Maybe
Yeah, I
he's
think
in Summerside.
I think he's back. Yeah,
He's back. All right.
He's traveling. So
In the meantime, just thoughts on Craig Berube, deal getting closer. Everything's pointing in the direction of Craig Berube being the next head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. At 4:07 today, probably highly unlikely that we'll see any type of release from the Toronto Maple Leafs, which means early next week, Monday a holiday, but by Tuesday we expect Craig Berube to be the head coach of the Maple Leafs.
Someone's offering me a, I don't know, $16-20 million contract. I'll sign it on a Saturday. We can do that. That's
no,
okay.
as a person who wants to enjoy the long weekend, let's just wait till Tuesday. But yeah, no,
I'm enjoying it regardless.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. That's true. What are your thoughts?
Was there anybody close for you in this race?
No, but I do think that there is some matter of perception where he was the most highly coveted guy league-wide, it felt like. And the Leafs probably felt some pressure to land that, right? Given how high pressure everything is right now. The pressure on Shanahan, they just fired the coach. So I think that probably encouraged them to go get a guy like Berube.
Excited.
Yeah.
You think about the guys out there and like the top coaches, and none of them really get you that excited. But to me, Berube is that. We've broken it down a ton because we've had nothing to talk about this week because there hasn't been an announcement. I think looking at it more with a critical eye and talking about it, maybe the more negative sides of this. But as a fan, seeing the Freed report today and it's starting to become more realistic, I have to say that I am very excited about this. And I think it's an interesting new direction for the Leafs to go on with a guy like this. I do.
Well, that in itself is interesting because if we go back to the start of Brendan Shanahan's career as a president of the Toronto Maple Leafs and bringing in the likes of Babcock
Mm-hmm.
and Lou Lamoriello,
Mm-hmm.
and then the major switch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Old school, old traditional, out the window, new face, new attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Dubas. Analytics, maybe not so much, but fresh ideas, new thought of skill. Didn't matter, 6'2" or 5'8". Bring me the highest skilled players. Kyle's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Treliving comes in.
1 year of
More
Keefe.
snot.
1 year of Keefe.
And now totally back in to old school.
New Babs.
Old traditions. Right?
All right.
Berube, not X and O's guy that gets in the faces of Austin and Nylander and Marner if he's still here, Tavares or Morgan Riley, and pushes buttons.
There's pain coming.
It is. You know, you're 100% right. It's going to be fascinating to know what he's like as a coach of a team with real weapons. You know, Anthony Petrilli wrote an article on this today, so I'm stealing some of this. He talked about the type of players that the Blues had when they won the Cup.
Yeah.
Ryan O'Reilly led that team in scoring in the regular season. He had 77 points. So he's never coached a guy who scored 40 goals. He's never coached a guy who's had 90 points. And that's not because of the way he coaches. He's just never had that kind of talent on his roster. So he coached a big, deep four-line Blues team, right? They ran that fourth line. They played a certain way. It's really tough to know what to expect from Berube and how he'll handle having a 70-goal guy and 300-point forwards. You know, this is unique to him. So I don't even know if he knows how he would go about it. It's going to be something different than he's ever coached. So I don't know if it's easy to be like, yeah, here's how he coaches because he's never had a roster like this.
It's great insight. I do think, though, that, you know, those guys are going to do what they do regardless. And I think it's about how you get them to act as opposed, like, when it comes down to the playoffs.
I disagree with you. They're not going to get to do whatever they still want to do.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's the best part of this whole thing.
But what I'm saying is that, like, they're going to, you know, coaching those guys, their attitude to me is what needs to be changed in the playoffs, and sort of like how they play in the playoffs needs to change. That's the number one thing. They play fine in the regular season. They look good in the regular season. When you want Berube is to be able to hold them accountable in the playoffs. Like, I don't think he's going to come in here and change anything so drastically that the Leafs are going to look totally different during the regular season. I just think it's when it comes to the playoffs, that's the most important time.
I think they've got a better chance to look in October and November like they did at times for Sheldon. Unfortunately, a little too late.
Well, you know what's good about that is we complain for years about the lack of first-round success. Well, they're always playing a very good team. If you could maybe not be 2-8 against the bottom 5 teams in the league like the Leafs like to be, you know, Berube holds them accountable for those games, maybe you finish first.
Yeah, wouldn't be the worst idea. But no, like, I do think that I think the Stars will be held to a different standard. Mm-hmm. But in general, I think they're a pretty good team. Even if Keefe was the coach next year, I still think they're a really good team.
Yeah. We do have an important question. No, I agree. We have an important question to answer, though. What does this do for Kyper's Clippers? How does this affect us personally on this show?
Oh, we'll still read between the lines, baby.
You know.
Oh yeah.
I know
we'll be fine. We'll be fine. It'll be a little shorter.
It doesn't matter. It'll be shorter for sure.
It'll be a lot more fun trying to dissect what he didn't say than what he says.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, the thing, like, Sheldon could speak in code a little bit at times, and so that was part of the fun. Berube's didn't tell you what he actually thinks. So,
you know what I found interesting towards the latter part of his run with St. Louis was that little exchange with Jordan Kyrou.
Mm-hmm.
And like, to me, who's the Leafs' Jordan Kyrou? More skill. Can score more points.
Is it Mitch?
No.
Willie.
Yeah. Willie.
I mean, Willie's better than Jordan Kyrou, but
yeah, no. I'm just saying, no.
Yeah.
But Jordan felt like Berube was riding him too hard, right? And it was like 1,000 pounds off his shoulders. That's why he slipped with the comments that he made.
Yeah.
On the exit of Berube. And like, this will be Craig Berube. Maybe with Willie, maybe with Marner if he's still here, maybe with Matthews. I don't know, but that's the type of guy that is going to get in faces if he feels like they're cheating in some way, shape, or form.
How are they going to react to that? Because they haven't had, like, I don't know what.
The good news is they're grown-ups now. I think it'd be harder when they're 21.
And I'm not going to sit here and say that I know what Sheldon was like behind the scenes with these guys, and he could have been harder on them. I don't know. But like through the media, which is a huge part of coaching and a huge part, especially in Toronto, what you say here is very important. And Sheldon was very hesitant ever to be very critical of these guys in the media. And when he did, we all know what happened. He goes back, he walks it back. It's a huge talking point. Like, I don't know how these guys are going to respond to that because it's just been so little of it over the last 5 or 6 years. Like, how do you think that, like Willie doesn't really care, you don't think? Matthews would probably respond well to it. I don't Marner, I don't know how they'd respond. I really don't.
Yeah. I do think that Sheldon had a long relationship with Nylander, right? Like he had him at 19 with the Marlies or maybe 18. Like he had him very young. So I always felt like he was more comfortable to give Willie a licking here and there and lean on him. But Willie, obviously, it didn't faze him. It will be different coming from someone else who, will hold his feet to the fire. So, but I expect Willie to be fine. I honestly,
I think it's a good question.
It is.
Sam.
Yeah.
But Berube can't come in. He can't come into a place where people have been necessarily guns a-blazing. Like, I think he also is going to have to adapt a little bit to different personalities and different whatever. So no one's going to come in here and start a fist fight. They all want to work together and get along.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll come down to hockey questions when, is Berube holding them accountable? It'll be about hockey, and I think they'll be all right. Not that stressed about it. Is there any reason to believe otherwise?
I don't. I do think that there was a comfort zone for them for a lot of years.
And that's why this is good.
That's
Get out of that.
It was kind of set by Kyle Dubas because he was a warm blanket kind of guy, right? Like, I believe in you. You're not going to let me down. You're not going to let me down.
But even Shanny, the second, Kyle left, he called all the guys and was like, you're fine. Heaven forbid, they're not under a warm blanket for 20 minutes. These guys have had it very comfortable.
So Saravelli now tweeted out that he will be named.
Yeah.
45. So it's we all know.
Worst kept secret.
Yeah. Worst kept secret. So, I mean, the next question for me, and maybe I don't know if this is jumping too far ahead, we're talking about a lot of the decisions that have to be made this offseason, clearly, with the Leafs. Like, Berube is going to be in those conversations, no? Like, if you're I'm sure they're giving him a big, shiny new contract to be the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's probably going to have some input on player personnel, would he not?
He would have had Edmondson in St. Louis, right?
Yep. But, I mean,
there's
a couple.
I think it's debatable whether or not, how much. I think he'll provide input.
Mm-hmm.
And I think after all these meetings with him, they'd have some idea of what kind of team he wants and what kind of look he wants. But outside of that, I think Brad Treliving's the guy to make those decisions.
All right. I just, I didn't know. When you're giving him what the contract's probably going to look like, you'd think that he might have some input on the player personnel.
I don't know. The number everybody's talking about is $5 million.
That's probably 4 years or something.
Hey, listen, he had leverage, and there's no team that can give it away better than the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it would have been a hard negotiation, and I don't think they'd fret over $500,000 one way or the other.
Right. The term does matter, though, right? Like, you'd rather overpay him or, versus the market, but not give him 5 years.
So
I don't think they care, in all honesty. They make gobs of money.
Man.
Is this me reading into something too much? That this is all coming out at 4/18 on a holiday weekend?
Probably.
Okay.
I don't know, but do you think they're not proud of the hire?
I don't know. It's just like, why? Like, I don't know. It's timing and how it works or whatever, but it just feels like they're really going to send out a release here at 5 p.m. on a Friday of a long weekend. That's literally like the number one news dump time there is.
Yeah.
It's very weird to me.
I don't know. I can't wrap my head around what's better or worse to release, right?
Yeah.
Friday.
Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. was what I would think.
It definitely will give him a minute to get his feet set in the door. He's not going to walk into flashbulbs when everyone's up at someone's cottage somewhere in Ontario.
Yeah, it's true.
He's going to walk
Good
into
point.
a ghost town.
Yeah.
Mark Savard coming in to save the power play?
Well, they were together in St. Louis, right? So I would imagine so. My old coworker, Mark Savard, used to do Leafs Nation postgame with him and Gordo. So he
You carried him or what?
No. But we sat in, I sat with him and Gord in the boardroom here, ate a lot of sushi with him, and watched him watch hockey and talk about hockey and the things he noticed about hockey. I was surprised that it took him that long to get into coaching, honestly, the amount of stuff that he like noticed about a game, and he was very thorough with that kind of stuff. So
I don't know how many
me.
years would he have been there for? Like, what seasons would he have been with the Blues, do you think,
They-
Savard?
He was there when they won the cup, right?
So 18, 19 till now?
And he was in Calgary last year, or was he was in Calgary recently as well. So, yeah.
18, 19 till now, the St. Louis Blues have had the 10th overall power play at 22%. Leafs were third at 24%. So, I don't know. Not 10th is good. 10th is good. Fine. You would take 10th. They'd take 10th in the postseason when there's 16 teams. Just not last.
Yeah. How much pressure is on I guess maybe there's no pressure on the power play guy to come in.
It's funny. I heard the Canucks talking about they were 3 for 9 on the power play, and they were saying, but we don't like our process. Like, we're 3 for 9, but it's not connecting. It's not going well. Like, the Leafs they've won a series if they could have been 3 for 9.
Absolutely.
And
We'll have to see.
1 for 21.
Whether it's Savard here or Berube with somebody else, we have to see what that roster looks like by September. Who's here and who's not here, especially on that blue line. They went out and they made a major commitment to Klingberg, which was a disaster.
Do you think they would welcome him back at league minimum? Like, I don't think anyone's giving Klingberg maybe 1.5 or something.
So over.
So over.
Yeah, God. For them
just
to
asking.
hang on to that one is just another one of those, like, pie in the face to Leaf fans.
Yeah, just move on.
Right? Yeah, let's just move on.
Yeah.
Come on, please. There's a big planet.
Yeah.
There's lots of players.
Yeah.
Find one.
Yeah.
I do get the sense from most people I talk to that are Leaf fans in my life that this is going to be a really well-received hire.
Yeah.
That I think, even when Berube got fired last year during the season, I think a lot of people were like, well, that was a guy that was immediately connected to the Leaf, even when when they were playing well and the Leafs were playing well.
Well,
he was always a guy that was very interesting to Leaf fans.
Yeah.
typically, when you've gone from good cop to bad cop, that's always the case. One guy was too soft on the team, and then you go get a tough guy coming in. So no matter what, when a guy's on his way out and you get an opposite kind of personality,
People are happy.
It's like politics.
It's always like better than what you had before. But this is a very important hire for Brad Treliving, who hasn't had the best run at hiring coaches as a general manager. So this one is one that he has to get right here.
It's funny because there is faint aroma of Daryl Sutter to this. The Daryl Sutter aroma is cow
I was going to say cow poo?
dung, but yeah, no, it's
A waste of 8 days.
there is some similarities there,
You
right?
think like,
Oh, it's a tough guy who's gruff and in your face, and it's
yeah, but you got to remember, I don't think Daryl was a guy that Brad Treliving wanted. That one came from upstairs in Calgary.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they
The Murray
ever
Edwards
really.
thing?
I don't. Somebody.
Yeah, somebody. Gotcha.
So if you do your homework on that one, I think that one never kind of stood a very good feel to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Similar type of guy, hard nosed and all of that, but I think this one comes from Brad Treliving's 100%.
Yeah, like Huska might have been a Tree Living hire in Calgary, but yeah, this is his hire. There's no.
Who else was? The Peters one was a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But
it's an important hire for Brad Treliving.
it's tough for a GM because you always, you get to fire at least one coach. Like that seems to be standard GM practice. You hate to have to do it after 1 year. If you're Tree, he had to do it, but
Well, and again, like I get the whole decision on re-signing Sheldon to a 2-year extension that you didn't really have to give him, right?
well,
Like-
the Sheldon extension was like a keep the noise down thing.
But in today's world, just deal with some noise. You don't have to give away
but
$4
you'd say the
million
opposite
to
in the
keep
year. Why you
the
letting
noise
this
down.
guy be a
'Cause
lame
it's
duck
four-
coach?
It's $4 million. It's just $4 million.
Yeah, but it's also a convincer for your players that he's going to be around to take him seriously.
So Treliving in 9 years in Calgary had Hartley, who was there when he took over, and he won the Jack Adams the next
Extended
year.
him.
Then Glenn Gulletson,
My ECHL All-Star coach right there.
Bill Peters,
Yep.
Jeff Ward,
That one did not pan well at all.
No, and then Daryl Sutter.
That's a bad track record.
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
All right.
That's why
It's really bad.
this is the one that makes or breaks Brad Tree Living.
Yeah, this is going to be fascinating. When we were talking the other day about analytics and different departments, and I said, 10 to 12 coaches, like, take the reports and throw them in the bin. I got a text from someone who would know, who says, Berube's a bin man.
Bin man.
he's a bin man. He chucks her in the bin. So we'll see. Maybe, he'll learn and grow here, right? There's more. I think the Leafs have the biggest staff in that way in the league. So maybe he'll warm up to it.
Great skill.
I did a hit with your boy Gunner on the morning show.
Oh, yeah? When was that?
I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And it's not often he makes a good point. But he did make at least an interesting point that
wouldn't even give him good.
If once Berube became available, would the Leafs have been better off firing Sheldon and hiring him earlier in the season? Could that have affected this roster at all?
Not to
Your
be
thoughts?
dismissive, but like,
Sorry, Gunner, but you're not going to fire the coach when you're, solidly in a playoff spot.
well, it's just like it didn't work. So yeah, sure. Excuse me. Looking back now, it's like it didn't
But he
have success. So sure, it might have been better with someone else.
there was arguments to be made that, maybe Sheldon should have been fired a lot earlier. That's all. You lose to Montreal.
I was driving over to the airport at
was
Montreal.
fireable.
No question.
Losing to the Montreal Canadiens with a lead in the series was fireable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might have happened had Montreal not then beat two other teams and gone to the Cup final. I think that gave them an air of credibility that they probably didn't deserve. But that I'm with you. Like, that was a not good team, and they were first in the division that year, and absolutely we're up 3-1. Shouldn't have happened. So.
Yeah, no, I was ready for it to be over after Montreal, no question. And then it was 2 more after that. Well, 3 more. 3 more after that. So crazy.
Okay. So Craig Berube, the next head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, an announcement expected early next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We shall see.
Seems like it's happening.
Okay. We'll take a quick break. Joey Kenward, Sportsnet 650 out in Vancouver, will give us the latest on the vibe in Vancouver and can they put away Connor McDavid. That and more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. The Kypreos, Justin Bourne and Sam McKee will continue to follow the story as reported by Frank Saravelli at dailyfaceoff.com. Craig Berube, next coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. In the meantime, 2 games on tap tonight, Florida and Boston, Dallas and Colorado. Last night, JT Miller's late goal with 33 seconds to go. Beat the Edmonton Oilers. So what's that saying? What's good for the goose?
Good for the gander.
Yeah, that's it. Right?
In
Bouchard.
yeah, you did. Yep, there it is.
You did that to us 1 game ago.
Yeah.
We can do it to you too.
It's really funny. I was actually thinking about getting your take on this. We gave Matthews and Nylander a hard time for not playing a few games due to injury. How do you feel about DiGiuseppe having missed 2 games for parental leave?
Yeah, not thrilled about it.
He scored the goal, and they're like, he's back from an absence after missing 2 games for paternity leave.
Yeah, listen, it's a changed world. I accept it.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
don't have to like it.
Don't have to particularly like it. And I thought he was really good, too.
He was excellent. Yeah, fresh legs.
Fresh legs.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the plan.
The Canucks were, what a hockey game for them. I know fans of the Canucks had been waiting for a night like that for a long time. In their building, they took it to the Oilers. Connor McDavid, what's that, a second or third game with no points in the series? And a late winner from JT Miller. By the way, Pettersson makes a great play on the game winner.
He looked good right from the start.
He was throwing his body around.
Yeah.
Right?
1 point is his fewest in a 3-game span in the postseason since 2017 in the first round versus the Sharks.
Carson Soucy rules.
All right, let's welcome him in. Joey Kenward, Sportsnet 650 reporter in Vancouver, covering the Canucks. Joey, how are you, man? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing well, guys. I'm coming to you live from Pat Quinn's restaurant and bar
here in beautiful Tawasin, British Columbia. You see the big Irishman over my shoulder. I know you guys haven't been out here to see this fantastic facility at Tawasin Springs Golf Course and Resort. So I'm sure when you look at those photos, Nick and Justin and Sam and a lot of people on all sides of the country, you think this is a pretty spectacular place for a lot of hockey memorabilia.
Well,
a day after a spectacular day of hockey.
Are the Canucks going to add a little bit more to that memorabilia with one more win in this series?
Boy, even if you didn't have skin in the game last night, if you've watched the Vancouver Canucks for years, I thought that was, for the organization and their fans, probably the most high-octane hockey game that the franchise and their followers have been involved in since 2011. One goal game, great chances at either end of the rink, great goals at either end of the rink, fantastic net minding in both ends of the ice. And for the second straight game, when it looked like the two teams would be heading to overtime, we have a winner in the final minute. Edmonton got it in Game 4, Vancouver gets it in Game 5, and now it sets up an opportunity for the Canucks to, as a road team, which they've been very good not only in the playoffs, but for the majority of this season, to try to seal the deal. But it's not going to be easy, guys. You know, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and the rest of the Oilers will be fired up in a big, big way on Saturday at 5 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Mountain.
So, Joey, how was Pettersson? Did the Canucks get? I heard the "Let's Go Petey" chant. I know Bruff and Halford were trying to get that started. They gave him a "Let's Go Petey" chant. Did he show up? Was he better?
Yeah, I think so. Compared to the last couple of games, boy, you look at the last two games that he's played. Out in the final minute to on the road in Game 4 to win a key faceoff when the Canucks got their equalizer in the game, which looked like it might be destined to go overtime, and then Evan Bouchard, of course, had other ideas. Last night, think about the play that led to Miller's goal. And I know Elliott was talking about it on the broadcast after the fact. That's a pretty deft back heel play that Pettersson makes with his skate to redirect the puck off the post past Calvin Pickard. And luckily for Pettersson, the puck comes off the iron and to a wide open JT Miller, who stuffs it home for his second career playoff game-winning goal. A goal he said after the game is probably the biggest goal he's ever scored in his life. So Pettersson's been in the right spot at the right time at key moments of the games for the Canucks to help them get goals. Is he struggling to score? Yes, there's no doubt about that. But I think that based on the previous game and what he's already been able to accomplish in this series, he can take a lot of positives out of the performance last night as an individual. And I think on that line, playing with Elias Lindholm and Nils Höglander, they were creating chances, and they certainly had the fans buzzing when they had the puck. We'll see what they can do when they go into hostile territory on Saturday.
We're talking to Joey Kenward from Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver. So, Joey, 0 for 5 last night, the Edmonton Oilers on the power play. What were they able to do that no other team could solve up until last night?
Couldn't solve Artur Shilovs, for one. Boy, what a story he's been between the pipes for Vancouver. Doesn't look like a 23-year-old American Hockey League starter for this year, does he? He looks very, very NHL ready, who looks like, quite frankly, a guy that's been in this position before. That speaks volumes for a European kid who's only been playing in North America for a couple of years. I also like the fact that the active sticks from the big bodies on that Vancouver blue line took away shooting lanes and, more importantly, passing lanes from the Oilers' man advantage. Tyler Myers maybe had his best game of the playoffs yesterday, fellas. Nikita Zadorov, who's been their best all-around defenseman in all three zones, he was very good when playing shorthanded. That's just some of the things that come to mind. But let's be honest, if you're Edmonton, you're breaking down that video in a big, big way going into Game 6, because 0 for 5 is just something that's not in their vocabulary when you talk about a power play that's been clicking at, over 40% so far in the postseason.
So do you, if Demko were to be available, do you think he'd go in? Do you want him in? No?
Is that the way everybody feels?
I don't know if that's the way everybody feels. I mean, he hasn't practiced with the team.
Yeah.
Now, I think Rick talking to the media today said it's very unlikely that we see him on the weekend. Now, stranger things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
He is their number one goalie. He is a Vezina candidate. It wouldn't shock me. I mean, everybody's pointing to who we know will get the award, and it's likely Connor Hellebuck. But think about this, guys, and I know you may have talked about this already. Thatcher Demko and the team in front of him, from one season to the next, even though he had that time off with injury, 4 or 5 weeks, if general managers who vote on the Vezina are just looking at the body of work and saw the team rebound the way it did, they can thank their goaltender for it. Do I think he's going to win the Vezina? No. Would it shock me if he won the Vezina? No, it wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to take anything away from Hellebuck. It's not to take anything away from Sergei Grabovski down in Florida, the other finalists. I would be also really surprised if Thatcher Demko gets into the mix before this series is over. They've got a buffer right now, being a 3-2 lead, and quite frankly, arguably the MVP for the Canucks in this series to this point, guys, is the goaltender who's getting these wins, and that's Archer Seeloss. He was one of the best players last night on the ice, just like Calvin Pickard was arguably the best player for the Visitor last night. I would be really, really surprised if Demko gets in, but like I said, in Vancouver with goaltenders, anything's up for grabs.
Yeah.
Well, we shall see. It all gets going again Saturday night at Rogers Place in Edmonton. Joey, thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot. It's almost happy hour.
Go get him, big
Thanks,
guy.
Joey.
Joey Kenward.
I won't be taking part. Don't worry, fellas. Hey, have a great long weekend and enjoy the games.
You too. Thanks a lot, man.
Joey Kenward from Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver.
So speaking of happy hour,
yeah.
I just called Andy Strickland,
Mm-hmm.
who's from St. Louis, does great work down there. Cam and Strick podcast, great relationship with Craig Berube. Picked up right away, said, yeah, love to come on. I'm just in Mexico. So he's going to come on and join us for 5 minutes here.
Wow.
Right, he's down in Mexico.
Well, it's 24 hours a day, happy hour.
Well, I mean, there's 3 hours behind there. I said, how many cocktails? He said, all good to go. So
No follow-up questions.
He's going to come on and join us, which is really sweet of him. So
awesome.
I don't know if he's with us yet. Derek's calling him, but guy that he said he was texting with Berube, so good relationship with him. So we'll get his thoughts on it coming up here.
So in the studio here, we have a monitor.
Yeah.
And there's a bar going down.
Yeah, I think
the
that's
monitor.
Is that
just our TV, or does everybody see that?
I'm assuming it's just our TV, Kippy.
Okay, I thought it was some sort of to honor Scotty Scheffler in his cell this morning, because it looked like Joey was in jail, and right now to me it looks like you're in jail too, Sammy.
I don't think there's a
no link to Scotty.
I'm not sure if David Sisboombach can confirm, but I don't think there's a black line on any of the other screens.
No.
So we're all good.
Okay, I'm good then. I'm good. All right, so we'll see if Andy can enlighten us on what Leaf fans can expect out of Craig Berube.
I am curious to know. I imagine becoming the head coach at the Leafs is a big onboarding job. Like, there is a lot of departments and a lot of people. Oh, and we have someone to give us answers. Right.
All right, let's go to Senior Froggies. Let's bring in Andy Strickland. Am I close?
No, maybe. I don't know where Senor Frogs is, man, but we are in Mexico and a good time. So, of course, this happens when you're in Mexico. But, hey, the work never stops. The sun is out. The tequila's flowing, and always good to be with you. So
all right, so
as always, Kyper.
We're getting word that, the worst-kept secret out now is that Craig Berube will be the next head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. You've dealt with him, watched him win a Stanley Cup in St. Louis. Just give us an overview of what Leaf fans can expect.
Well, listen, you've known him for a long time as well, and this guy is a hockey lifer, and I know people are going to look at his, the back of his hockey card and, see a guy that, I think he's got the most fighting majors in the history of the NHL. If not, he certainly is right up there.
Oh, don't say that to Ty Domi.
For the, why, is that does he disagree with that? Is there a debate there?
Yeah, he's number one.
Okay, yeah, okay. But Chief is up there, and we all know, obviously, the type of player that he was. But don't confuse that with, his passion, knowledge for the game. This guy, lives and breathes the game. I mean, he is truly a hockey junkie. And, even going back to his days, as a player, His teammates talk about him always watching hockey and wanting to talk hockey. He and Dale Hunter, guys like him and Keith Jones, these guys would spend hours, hanging out after games and watching hockey. And even when he was here in St. Louis, man, I knew where he would hang out after games. He went to the same spot every single night, and he was there until the late games were over. Loved talking hockey the next day. So, he's passionate about it. He understands the game. He knows the game. He knows players. And not just his players. He knows the players around the league as well. And he's going to have this team prepared. Listen, I don't know what's been going on there in Toronto, but obviously they haven't had the playoff success. They've got a certain type of player that they roll out. They play a certain style, and they've gotten away with it for X number of years. But I think it's going to be a new environment that is going to take some time for these guys to get used to. He's very upfront. He's honest with his players. If they don't know what he thinks about them now, they certainly will in very short order. He's very upfront. He's straightforward. Players know where they, where they stand with Craig Berube, and he's not going to hide from that. So I hope they're prepared for that. And listen, he understands what's at stake here and what could potentially mean for him in terms of his status as an NHL coach if he gets this done here in Toronto.
And what's his track record like dealing with young players? Like if the Leafs were to have Easton Cowan or Fraser Minton or even Nick Robertson, some of these young guys, what's his history like handling the young guys?
Well, I think if you look at a guy like Robert Thomas, who was influential in, the Blues winning a Stanley Cup, he had a role. Certainly he was a rookie, not the same role that he carries today, but, he was a third-line player playing with veteran guys like Pat Maroon and Tyler Bozak. Jordan Kyrou's come along. You look at guys like Vince Dunn and some of these guys that, have moved on to play elsewhere. Jake Wallman's another guy who, obviously got an opportunity in Detroit that probably wasn't available to him here in St. Louis. Listen, I think it's a little bit of an adjustment. I think he's hard on the young guys. I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. And I think, depending on the nature of that individual, he's not for everybody. And if they're not used to hard coaching, and I always say this about NHL players in terms of, modern day young players in the league, most of these guys have never been coached hard. If you're familiar with AAA hockey in, the Toronto area, elite programs here in the U.S., I mean, coaches are constantly kissing their ass because they're afraid they're going to lose them. I mean, in the case of Toronto, how many AAA programs are there? So if you coach these guys hard, then, what can happen, right? They can leave. They can go to a different program. So sometimes these guys never get coached hard, and the first time they ever get coached hard is when they get to the National Hockey League for the first time. And, it's an individual situation. How those guys handle that will determine, the success that they're going to have playing under a guy like Craig Berube. But he appreciates skill at the same time. He's not a guy that's just expecting you to be a throwback player and, get pucks in deep and get in on the forecheck and run guys through the wall. He likes that. He likes hard hockey. He's going to bring hard hockey to Toronto. But I think he understands and appreciates, the skill that these guys bring to the table as well. He's not looking to change a guy like Austin Matthews, for an example. This guy's a world-class player. Mitch Marner, he's a world-class player, but at the same time, if he's in a Toronto uniform, there's some adjustments that he's probably going to have to make to his game. But he'll be upfront, he'll be honest, and it's up to the player if they're willing to make that adjustment for the better of the team. And that's one thing you're going to hear from Craig Berube. This guy is all about team. He's not about individual. And if you're a player that's looking to put yourself ahead of the team, it's not going to work under Chiefs.
So if one of those star players were to call up Jordan Kyrou and ask him what's Craig Berube like, what do you think he would say? Because there was that interesting exchange at the end of his term.
Probably wouldn't have the greatest things to say, but at the end of the day, I think he'd also tell you that Craig Berube brought him into the NHL, gave him an opportunity, and he scored 37 goals under Craig Berube. Mm-hmm. So, listen, if you're a coach in the NHL and you're scoring 37, but you're also minus 38 or whatever he was, is that helping the team? You know what I mean? So, again, he's an example. Probably wasn't coached very hard growing up. He was a high NHL pick. He was a star player in the Ontario League. And it probably was a little bit of an adjustment for him, getting to the NHL. But, young guys, listen, it depends on the individual, Kipper. I understand the question. And I don't think Kyper would say, I hated Chief. I think they had an up and down relationship. And let me tell you this, Craig Berube invested a lot of time and a lot of patience with Jordan Kyrou behind the scenes. Kyrou went through some stuff that was, personal to him. And Berube was always there for him, from that standpoint. So this year was a little bit more of a challenge, getting, Kyrou to adjust to playing that 200-foot game and, being an influential player in the defensive end as much as he was in the offensive end. And I'll say this about Kyrou. He made a concerted effort this year to be a better defensive player, and I think he was. I think he was -10 to finish the year. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And he was probably on the ice for 15 goals against in that situation. So he was a much better defensive player, probably had to sacrifice a little bit of offense as a result. But, Kyrou's one example. But at the end of the day, the elite players that are driving the bus in Toronto are not 24 and under, right? These are more veteran established players. And I know you just mentioned a couple of young guys, but I'm not so sure they're at the level of a guy like Kyrou or Robert Thomas in terms of the production they've shown at the NHL level. And they're going to have to adjust, there's no doubt.
Yeah. All right.
Strick, we got just a couple of minutes here. Last one for me. We're worried about our show and our coach's clips. How is he handling the media? Is it going to be, what can we expect with Berube handling the media? I know you're kind of a direct young guy that he happened to like. How is he in general?
I think he's great with the media. I think the media is going to love Craig Berube because he's honest. And he may not always tell you what you want to hear, but he's going to be honest, much like he is with the players. And, his exchanges with the media have always been relatively respectful. And he's not a guy that fights with the media, that's combative with the media. Listen, he understands what he's walking into at the same time. The biggest adjustment for him is just dealing with everything you have to deal with in general with Toronto. I mean, how many people are in the Toronto traveling party versus other teams in the NHL? Whether it's nutrition people, skills coaches, trainers, they carry a heavy traveling party. And now he's going to have to manage a lot more people than what he's, accustomed to dealing with here in St. Louis and probably even Philadelphia as well. But this guy's a winner, and he brings that to the table. And listen, the year after the Blues won the Cup, obviously the season was cut short due to COVID. They were on their way to repeating, to be honest with you. I think they had won like 10 or 11 straight prior to the season being shut down. They were first in the West. And, they had a lot of guys, obviously, that were here that helped the team win a cup to begin with, guys like Alex Pietrangelo and, O'Reilly and, David Perron and some of those guys. So, you talk to O'Reilly, you talk to David Perron, you talk to these guys. Listen, they got a lot of respect for Craig Berube, and I would expect this to be the same. Hey, listen, a lot of these guys in Toronto right now, they put up the individual numbers. They've accomplished a lot individually. And now they got to make the decision. Do they want to add team success to their resume? And I think a guy like Craig Berube is going to help them do that.
The guy can kick anyone's ass. That's why they respect him the most. Andy, thanks for doing this, man.
Hey, listen, Tarasenko learned that firsthand. I think it was Alexander Steen that showed him videos one time on the plane after he took over on YouTube. They said, hey, this is the guy who's coaching us right now. Oh, really? He had no idea. So get their attention. Hey, but you know what? And Kipper, you'll love this as a former player, man. He's a guy who's going to want to hang out and talk to the players, too.
All right.
He doesn't just hide in the office.
And the real Kipper and Bourne show.
He hangs out in the sauna. He's
all right,
around.
buddy. We got to go. Have a margarita on us.
I got you, man. I got you. I will.
Thanks, Strick. Appreciate it, pal.
All right. After the break, Doug MacLean, Off the Rails Friday continues on the Real Kipper and Bourne show. We are live on Sportsnet. Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. It's the Real Kipper and Bourne show. Of course, this hour, Real Kipper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. In a few minutes, we'll welcome in Doug MacLean on Off the Rails Friday, former NHL president, GM, head coach, author of Draft Day, How to Pick Winners or Get Left Behind. In the meantime, heck of a hockey game last night. Vancouver Canucks turned the tables on the Edmonton Oilers, scoring a late game-winning goal. Take that, Bouchard.
Can I ask you guys, tell you, they just got more guts than the Oilers.
Whoa, coming out hot.
They're a harder working team. They're a gutsy, gritty, heart-filled team. That's what it looks like. That's what you hope the Berube coached Leafs play like.
Is that a Rick Tocchet reflection rather than a Chris Knobloch?
I think it could be, but they play so hard. And they played
JT Miller for me, man.
Unbelievable game last night. They played so well.
Heart and soul.
You know what I'm gonna start getting tired of, and this is, of course, because people are going to be on McDavid now for not producing.
Yeah.
Okay. But it just seems to be an ongoing theme that if teams don't have success, it's because their $10 to $12 million player failed them. And it's not what our game's about this time of year. If I was to tell people that playoff games are twice as hard as a regular season game, I'd be lying. It's 3 or 4 times as tough than a regular season game.
For those guys, for sure.
For those guys.
You sit there in the coach's office with a few names and you say, it's not like a normal game, the way you defend that guy.
So
the way you treat.
Just to go to the non-Vancouver side of things here, the Toronto Maple Leafs just put out their official release.
Oh, they did.
At 5 p.m. on the Friday of a long weekend, saying, introducing the 32nd head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Craig Berube.
Crazy timing.
5 p.m. on the dot.
Thank you, PR management firm.
Everybody's going home. Everybody's gone home.
Oh, they're
already.
like, this will just.
Like everyone's in Muskoka already. Like they're on the 400.
No demands for Berube at this point.
Anyways.
All right, let's welcome him in. Doug MacLean, former NHL president, GM, and will not be the next head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Sorry, Doug.
Sorry, Doug.
So Berube gets introduced at 5 o'clock.
On Friday.
Identical to me. Identical to me. We get introduced at the same time.
You guys are the same person. Hey, Davy Crockett, where are you? What are you on a hunting expedition?
I'm at the cottage.
Nice. Didn't know you had one of those to go with your Florida boat. That is actually sick.
There's the ocean.
Wow.
That is gorgeous.
And it's nice of Jill to allow you to do it in the attic.
Jill's not here. Jill's not here. Jill's in the Finger Lakes RVing.
So we're gonna get into a ton with Vancouver and Edmonton, of course. But the biggest news off the ice is Craig Berube as a Toronto Maple Leaf. Mac, the look is clear what they're going for here in Craig Berube, correct?
Yeah, you know what? I think it was a natural, since Craig got fired, that he would probably be the guy that they would go after. High profile, high salary. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's got a good reputation. I mean, Craig Berube's a good person, a good guy. Somebody compared him to Babcock earlier. Was that you, Kyper? Like, seriously, you're not that far off. You are that far off when you're comparing him to Babcock. Like, seriously.
Okay, I don't know where you're getting your information, but you're starting to worry me here. Where would you have ever gotten that?
Well, you just said they're going back to the tough guy, like the Babcock tough guy.
Old school,
Babcock's not tough compared to this guy. Let's not kid ourselves.
So
listen.
Yeah.
Listen. Berube's a good coach. Binnington made him a great coach. Okay? Binnington got in a role. He won a Stanley Cup. And he's a good man. And he's a good coach. But he's not Scotty Bowman. Let's not get carried away here. Okay? I think he's a good coach. I think he's the right type of coach for the Leafs. But he's not Scotty Bowman.
So he cannot win with this current roster. That's what you're telling us.
As I said, Binnington made him look like a great coach. Van Breesbroek made me look like a great coach for a short period of time. Is Wall going to make him a great coach?
I don't know.
They got to go get a goalie.
Well, or Wall takes the step. We all love Wall, but is he ready, and who are they going to get? But I like the hire. I mean, I'm disappointed. I was hoping Gerard Gallant would have a sniff at it, and that didn't happen. But, I happen to really like Craig a lot, and I think he's a good man. So I think it was the right hire. And Tree Living, you listed the guys he's hired in the past. He has had a horrific track record at hiring coaches until the owner made him hire Sutter. And this is a good hire by Shanahan and him. It was the only hire they could make, boys. Let's not kid ourselves. Todd McClellan, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Who else? There's not a chance they were hiring anybody else, boys. You could have announced it the day that, what's his name, got fired.
Keith.
Yeah, you could have announced it that day.
So, we haven't seen Berube's track record with truly elite all-star guys. He's had Ryan O'Reilly, who's a gritty guy, and, maybe Tarasenko. And some of, they haven't had Matthews and Nylander and Marner. He also hasn't dealt with the chaos that is this market. We know he likes to play the sort of play everyone, play hard, 4 lines, 4 check sort of hockey. How do you think it's going to play out with him in this market with some sort of unique individuals on the team?
I think it's going to be a real interesting experience for him to move into this group and realize what he's faced with. A group that's really talented in certain positions and don't play very hard in certain situations. It's not going to be an easy job for him. Mm-hmm. To get this group to play well in the press. I love what you guys talked about last week on the show when somebody brought up the best analytics of all analytics I've ever heard of. How many goals did these guys score against playoff teams? Mm-hmm. How many goals did they score in tight games? I thought that was a great segment you guys had there. And,
wow.
Usually I find your show boring.
Right.
I found that segment really good.
Good to know. Thanks for the feedback.
But listen, this is going to be fun. Berube will be a great fit. But it doesn't matter, boys. It's all going to come back to what happens in the playoffs and what Tree Living can do and what he can turn a couple of these core 4 guys into. What can he turn Marner into or whoever he's going to trade? And how can they build a team? That's what it's going to be all about. So the process starts, and it's going to go all winter and see where they are next April. And it won't be easy. We see how the games are every night. We see how Florida plays, Boston plays. It's as Nick said, playoffs are tough hockey. So, I'm excited for Toronto. I'm excited for the fans. I like Craig. I coached against him. I didn't really coach against him. We fought against him, I should say. We fought against him. But he, I think it's a really good fit.
So speaking of teams that rely heavily on 2 or 3 guys, the Edmonton Oilers now find themselves 1 game away from being eliminated against the Vancouver Canucks. And if Connor doesn't do it, and you've got 5 or 6 of your bottom half of your forwards with 2 points or less, Mac, is there a chance that Edmonton can still come out on top in this series?
Is Adam Henrique going to go into the lineup soon? I mean, are we going to get to see him? That was their big acquisition.
Right.
Look, first of all, I want to talk about Petey. Okay, Petey, who...
Well, why am I here then?
Talkett called out Petey. Talked to 5 or 6 guys, but he was really talking about 1 guy, Petey. I've never in my life seen a building cheer for a guy at the start of a game because they knew how fragile the fans read how fragile Petey was. Can you believe that?
Halford and Bruff did it. Our Sportsnet radio hosts inspired this chant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very sensitive out west.
When have you seen that in a National Hockey League game that a fan base cheers a pick-me-up for an $11 million player?
Something special is going on in Vancouver.
Are we serious watching this? And this kid, I know Talkett motivated him. I know you guys are going to jump all over that, and he did. But the fans were so good. It was unbelievable to me. And I think the kid... I mean, when you watched his press release, I thought they were going to have to get somebody to tie his skates for the game to get him ready. Like, it was frightening watching that press release, how beaten up and fragile this kid was. It's like Scotty Scheffler. Like, how bizarre. Seriously, how bizarre is this? Scotty Scheffler, the purest guy in the face of the earth, is in jail. What's going on in the sporting world?
Hey, be very careful entering your golf course, okay? Follow the arrows. Do not jump them.
But anyway, look, so what's going to happen with Edmonton? How do they fire up? I've never seen, I mean, look, the power play was unbelievable. Connor McDavid had scoring chances at will against LA and early in this series. Last night, he had a tough time. Miller, great job head to head. Penalty killers that was coaching last night. That was penalty killing. I don't know who's in charge of their penalty killing, but that was penalty killing at its best last night. The way they took the lanes away, and we talked about Myers, we talked about the big Zadorov, but it was a coaching clinic on penalty killing against a superior power play. And I thought it was really, they executed so well. So can that change at home? Yeah, they're going to be better at home. Is it going to go 7? Yeah, it'll go 7. And, who's going to win? I don't know.
Well, it's, it's going to be a big deal if this Oilers team doesn't find a way through, considering how the season started, how it went, and they just hired a new coach, like looking for things to blame. I'm not saying let's pick apart who to blame on Edmonton, but, Kip mentioned that Connor McDavid's already feeling a little bit of heat because he had a couple games without points. Like, what would the Oilers be going through right now trying to salvage this? Will they flip goaltenders? Will they mix up lines? Like, because the stories are going to be, it's going to be a big deal if they don't get through.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they mix up lines because it's been the same for 10 years there.
Yeah.
You start off with Draisaitl and McDavid on separate lines, then you play them together when you get nervous and they're on the power play together. So, I mean, really it's Draisaitl, for the most part, and McDavid in critical times. So, I think Edmonton's a better team. I know their bottom 6 wasn't good. I felt good last night when when Brown made the big play there on the goal to give them a lead back, getting the lead back. I thought that was going to be a turning point. But look, I think Edmonton will be better. I think they'll take it to 7, and who knows what happens there.
How hard is it?
But listen, goaltending.
Okay.
Yeah. How long? How many years has this been going on?
Okay.
And now you got the kid the veteran in goal. Seriously.
But before we go, just Mac, who do you start for the Edmonton Oilers? Skinner, Calvin Pickard. Who? What do you do? You're the head coach.
I'd probably go back to Skinner. I'd probably go to Skinner. He's the guy that got you there. He's the guy that got you out of the hole you were in after 14 games. He was one of their MVPs of the regular season. I'd go back to him. I really would. And while we're on goaltenders, I said to you guys 2 weeks ago that it's a joke what's gone on in Carolina with their goaltender, or a week ago. And they're talking about Shesterkin won that series. No. Carolina's goaltending lost the series. It was what a calamity that is. Seriously.
You didn't like the first Kreider goal?
The short side.
Yeah, that was sitting against his skate.
Yeah.
Oh, that made it 3-2.
Yeah, that was a turning point moment.
That was a turning point. I mean, how does that happen? Like, anyway, I feel bad. Look, 8 UFAs there. Roddy Brindamore, what's he do? I'd run for the hills if I was him. Run for the hills.
And he doesn't strike me as a guy that's interested in another job.
No, I agree with you on that. I agree.
Probably just stay in Carolina with the family.
If he wants to keep, or he quits.
I really felt for him last night. I mean, they were a good team in that series, boys. They were a good team, but it was not pretty, And they lose that lead like that. And Kreider, who didn't show up against Jersey last year, you couldn't find him in the Jersey series.
Like they're chiseling a statue right now for him.
Big statue.
But did you notice him in this New Jersey series last year? Him and Panarin, you couldn't find them with a search warrant.
Yeah, but it was.
And last night he gets a hat trick.
He was building it up for this year.
He
saved it up. I know.
He did.
I was happy for him. I think he's a good guy.
Listen, just the one thing on goaltending is they're just not producing very good ones or ones that can stay consistent for long periods of time here. Like, what is it? Is it the way they've taught them over the years with that stupid reverse VH crap? Like, what is going on?
Know. But I panicked the other day when I saw the Olympic goaltending hopefuls for Team Canada.
I know.
Have you seen that mess?
It's lean.
Have you seen that mess?
Yes.
Like, I mean, what is going on? like, what is going on with goaltending in Canada? But Freddie's head is run. Freddie's Freddie. I felt bad for him, but to go to think you're going to win a Stanley Cup with that group of three, what are they thinking about? I don't get it. Anyway, and your team, Berube, needs a goaltender. I love Wall. I hope he can come around. Berube needs a goaltender. You need a goaltender to win. Listen, Binnington was a great goaltender that Stanley Cup run for Berube. Great goaltender, you know? Yeah,
for sure. So the goaltenders are always a story this time of year. You just never know which guys it's going to be. I covered the Dallas-Colorado series the other night, which really is two potential Cup. You know, these teams have a chance if they get through. Georgiev seems to me like he's just not going to be enough for the Avs. I don't know. Like Ottinger seems like the difference maker there.
Yeah, Ottinger was a difference maker for Colorado the other night.
That's true.
He has been so good. And you love Ottinger as a goalie, and then you see what happens there with a couple of softies, and they lose the game. Ottinger's been really good, though. I agree with you 100%. Georgiev made some big saves in that game to really help them get the win, but goaltending is so critical, guys, and it even is in the regular season now. So it'll be fun to watch what happens.
Nichushkin was a devastating blow to lose him, though. I mean. And I'm not sure how surprised they were, how much they knew, but being there 1 minute as a top goal scorer in the playoffs to losing him in such a short period of time, I don't know if they could overcome that.
Back-to-back playoffs, you lose this guy who's one of your best players, who's one of your power forwards, who's one of the key guys offensively and all-round player, and you lose him back-to-back years because of this. It's sad. I thought Bednar was absolutely terrific in his response to it. Health is always number one, but 2 years in a row, guys, I'll be surprised if the guy ever plays again. I really will. I mean, I can't imagine that Colorado. I mean, are they gonna bring him back? I don't know. I'd be nervous. But if I was Chris McParland, I'd be nervous about bringing him back. And if I'm Nichushkin, I'd be looking for another spot to go. So it's big loss, devastating loss.
Yeah. We didn't.
And sad. It's a sad scenario.
It is for sure. The rest of that team looked like they're kind of rattled. That game, fourth game, game 5. I thought you got a much better. Okay, they had a couple days to regroup. McKinnon and Makar were unbelievable. This Cale Makar, he's Bobby Orr. I mean,
I was going to say that he turned that game single-handedly around and inspired. I think he inspired McKinnon. I mean, the plays he made, guys, that wrist shot of his from the blue line, I've never seen anything like it. Bobby Orr, oh my God, Jeff Rimmer he just had a nervous breakdown when you said that Makar is better than Bobby Orr. I mean, nobody's better.
Don't put that in my mouth.
Oh my God, he'll be phoning Bobby and telling him. I mean, it'll be frightening. So be careful. But anyway,
I did say that.
Makar is a superstar. He's a superstar, and the guy, and the kid in Dallas isn't too far off. Heiskanen, the way he's playing, like seriously, how good is he? So it's a great battle.
You can't write off Colorado just yet because of Makar.
Yeah, they got a couple of guys who are just too good.
And McKinnon, and Landeskog's been 2 years skating on his own, and now they say he's skating well. Like obviously he's not coming back, but talk about a big loss. Rantanen's a horse. I mean, you can't write them off. You cannot write them off. Not a chance.
So, Mac, what were your thoughts when you heard Brad Marchand explain to people that we actually try to go out there and hurt one another? The non-hockey people that hear this are just devastated. They're shocked. They can't you shouldn't try to win this way, Mac. It's not right.
What Brad should have said is, I do. I go out and try to hurt people. That's with his low blows, He should have said, poor Brad was caught here. He had no out here. He had to say that.
He couldn't say the audacity of Sam Bennett.
Him and Sam are
he was caught.
Maybe they were separated at birth. Him and Sam.
He was so caught on this one, and he said, "Yeah, we try to hurt each other." Well, I don't know, Lindros with that heavy piece of lumber he used to carry around that he called a hockey stick. He hurt more people with that stick than he ever did with a body check.
I still skate with him on Thursday mornings. He scares people still. Yeah.
Have you ever lifted a stick up?
No, I'm not. I'm like, you want the puck that badly? Just take it.
The same way.
Just take it. I'll be over here. I'll line up at the center ice drop. You know, just go.
Let me know how that works.
Yeah, he tried to hurt people too, but he also played pretty well besides that. But so it's been fun, and you know, let's see what happens. But I was really excited for Vancouver fans last night to see they haven't been that excited since Roger Nielsen waved the white flag giving up there. They haven't been that excited since then.
No, BX scoring a pretty big goal was right there too.
They had some moments.
Yeah.
Who did he score? Who did he score against? What goal was that?
That was San Jose.
San Jose, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, San Jose.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't notice him in the Boston series when we followed it.
Yeah. Just stay with me, would you? I keep driving it into the ditch. Swayman.
So where's the police officer that got Scheffler? Get him on.
That's seriously, that's a bizarre situation.
Swayman or Bobrovsky? Who do you like tonight?
Swayman.
Oh, this one's going 7.
This one's going 7, and I love Swayman. I mean, he gave them every opportunity to win except for maybe one game, boys.
Did you see the interview where he all but Messier guaranteed? He's like, we're going to go back there. We're going to play the exact same way, and we're going to win.
Yeah.
He looked
I'll
like
tell you what.
Serial killer saying it.
It's like Sam Reinhart had no chance to score that goal with 7 seconds left or 4 seconds, whatever it was. But the game before he was even dialed in. I mean, he gave them a chance in the previous game. He's that good. This guy may be, boys, I may be wrong, but he may be the best goalie in the NHL.
Tough to argue right now. It's tough to argue.
No, it is tough to argue.
He may be.
They're playing right now because of him.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I think Craig Berube should see if he'll get Brad to trade for him and see if they'll go with Linus Ullmark and trade Swayman. Maybe that would be good.
So you got any?
Ullmark.
When Sam's so excited that Berube's going to be involved in player acquisitions. He's going to be the coach. He's going to be the coach.
I tried to explain it to him.
Relax, Sam.
I asked if he might be involved, Doug.
Yeah.
Oh, no. But I saw what you were insinuating with a big smirk on your face.
You got any other predictions across the country, like who coaches Winnipeg, who coaches Seattle, who coaches L.A.? What's left? New Jersey?
I think Scotty O'Neill gets Winnipeg, which that'll blow me away, but I think he's getting it. I think Dan Bylsma is going to get Seattle.
Whoa.
Another Disco Dan.
Yeah, a guy like Blashill will get, or like Blashill will get San Jose. I think when Blashill phoned San Jose for the interview, they thought it was Babcock on the phone because they sound so much
identical.
So I think that's Jersey. I'm not sure where Jersey goes. Do they go Keefe? They go. I'm hoping George Gallant, but I don't know.
Yeah, I hear Keefe.
What's that, Jersey?
Yeah. So that's basically
Bylsma's coaching record's kind of crazy, right? Like he takes over the Penguins, wins a cup. He's a head coach for a while. Kind of works his way down the ladder till he's an assistant in the American League. Got back to a head coach in the American League, and you think he'll make it back, eh?
Well, I think he's he's near the top of their list. I think Ronnie Francis is a pretty, loyal guy. I'm not saying it's the right move. I'm just telling you. As they say on the island, I'm not telling you it's the truth. I'm just telling you what I heard. So we'll see what happens. But I'm not a big. I like Dan as a guy. I'm not a big fan of him as a coach. But he's done a good job in the American League. Yeah. There's no denying that. Coachella Valley, wherever the hell that is. I guess it's in Palm Springs. He did a hell of a job there. And the question I have is he hired that great female assistant. I forget her name. And, it'll be interesting if she gets the head job in the American League. That would be real interesting because she was a key part of the coaching staff. So it'll be interesting if she becomes the first American League head coach.
Cool. Interesting. All right. What's on tap tonight for you in your cabin?
Jill's away. I went in town. I picked up 3 bottles of wine.
For tonight.
Don't listen. Don't drink and talk on my show.
Our blood alcohol level of our guest today is high.
We've talked to you before. You're not allowed to drink while on the Real Kyper and Bourne show.
I'll have it as soon as I go off the air. I will have a sip. I would never dream. I would never dream of drinking before I went on this show. That's for sure.
If
I ever lost this job, what the hell would happen to me?
Your income would just tank. I know.
I got a lot of witnesses across the country right now that would bet a lot of money that you had a couple of sips.
Yeah, sniff
during
it
the show. All right, Mac. Enjoy your first sip of wine.
You know I never pour it that low.
All right. Scotty Scheffler's cup is on his way now.
Yeah.
I got to rephrase it. I'm going to celebrate tonight the Berube signing and a Stanley Cup in college.
There you go. Doug MacLean, everybody.
Enjoy the cottage.
Take care, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Didn't disappoint. Driving it in a ditch.
We had Joey Kenward call from a pub.
Yeah.
We had was it Andy Strickland from a Senior Frogs and
Senior Froggies.
Doug at least a glass of wine at the cottage.
Yeah.
His cottage looks awesome.
That's an
It's a classic A-frame old style cottage. Love that.
Are we going to get in trouble because you showed wine? Do they have CRTC anymore?
I drink non-alcoholic wine. There is non-alcoholic wine now.
It's 5 p.m. on the Friday of a holiday long weekend.
Yeah,
you think our bosses are watching?
Come on,
we're good.
There's a chance a few of maybe the Leafs drank a little bit too to put their press release out on Berube at 5 p.m. on a Friday.
Living was typing that on the 400 on the way out to the Muskokas. He's like, "Oh, get this one out quick, boys."
No, they're going, Tree, it's your turn to hit. He's like, hang on.
Hold on, I gotta get this press release out. Send.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Okay, what do we want to do?
Let's do some games. We'll do game time, and then we have a bunch of audio that we haven't played yet. We got a bunch of texts. I sent out a tweet for thoughts on Berube, so we got a bunch of stuff for the back half here. But I'll do game time now.
All right,
it's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 18 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So 2 good games tonight on the ice. 2 game 6s. Florida, Boston in Boston. Plus 130 for the Boston Bruins on the money line. The Florida Panthers are minus 155. Heavy favorites.
In Boston.
I think tonight could play out very similar to how the Rangers-Carolina game played out, where the Boston Bruins give them a really good, hard effort, but ultimately the Florida Panthers find a way to win it. But to me, that number is just too high. Minus 155. They've got momentum going. So if you're going to go anyway on that, to me, it would be the Bruins at plus 130. It's good value at home Friday night. That'll be a greased up crowd. So I really don't have a lean on that one. But if I was going to, I would say the Bruins. And in Colorado, it's minus 105 Dallas, minus 115 Colorado. Obviously much closer there in their mind between those two. I really have no idea on this one either. You could tell me that the Stars are going to come out and they're going to do what they did in games 3 and 4. Or
this is what a playoff series is all about. I have no idea.
Ups and downs.
You got one team with elite top end guys, one team that's solid all the way through.
And that's if you could also tell me that the exact same thing that happened in Game 5 is about to happen again, where McCarr and McKinnon just take it over. So I really don't have a lean on that one either.
It'll be tough to eliminate those guys.
Do you think Florida goes after Swayman a little bit here?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
think they try to rattle him tonight.
I think perhaps there's a goalie interference call at some point tonight. Dancing in Sway's crease.
Playing a bit of a dangerous game, but you got to push the envelope a little bit on Swayman. He's that good.
Yeah. Whatever you do to take him off. And he also is a bit of a loose cannon. Like he gets, I shouldn't say he gets rattled, but he likes to engage and run his mouth, and he's got a temper.
And just a quick golf odds update here.
Yes.
Xander Schauffele is now at minus 12. He's 1 up on Colin Morikawa and 3 up on Scotty Scheffler at minus 9. So Xander Schauffele is the heavy favorite, obviously, plus 137 at this point. But Scotty Scheffler, if you believe that, the jailbird is going to come back here and win this tournament, his odds are better right now than they were pre-tournament, and he can overcome a 3-stroke lead, no problem. He's at plus 500, so it's a decent bet there for him. And Colin Morikawa, who is one stroke back and an excellent golfer, is plus 700 there. So a little live odds for you. Heading into the weekend at the PGA Championship in Valhalla.
Like Scheffler, he's not just going to go home and join Doug with a glass of red wine. Like, you got to sort a couple things out. You need to call a lawyer. He's
not having a relaxing evening.
I'm not saying today. Like, I think this will affect him as much tomorrow and Sunday. Like, there's some hoops to jump through here.
Yeah, and he's going to go shoot 66, 67
I think
the
he
golf
gets
tournament.
cleaned up faster than that.
If he wins a major whilst figuring out his felony charges,
what is there to figure
a
out?
week after his first son was born.
What's your gym nance call?
The criminal wins. How's that? No.
Crime pays, Derek.
Crime pays, yeah. Crime pays is good.
Hey.
From behind bars to up with the stars, and sort of, there's work to be done here. I'll find something by Sunday.
Out of the cuffs into the winner's circle. All right, guys.
From behind the bars to in the bar with a big win.
Okay, that's enough. And that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, play the odds, and find out why it's never ordinary. Bet365 must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll get a little sound from Peter Laviolette talking about his latest hero, New York Ranger legend now, right up there. I mean, delivers a
as good as it gets
hat trick. We talked to Adam Graves yesterday on Chris Kreider, and all he does is turn around and
Potts 3
one for the ages.
Yeah, that was
for the
quite
New
the
York
showing.
Rangers. So we got Peter Laviolette. We'll get a little sound from Rod Brindamore, plus your text on Off the Rails Friday. Don't go away. The Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee.
Hey,
we got some Kippers Clippers.
Before we get to that, we were talking about how we were going down to 1 hour on Tuesday. That is no longer the case.
Lies.
Our lovely boss, Ryan Fabro, dedicated listener to Real Kipper and Bourne, just texted me and said 2 to 4 on Tuesday.
We'll be a Leafs hour.
There'll be a Leafs hour, lots of coverage of the press conference. You know what, boys? You know what
we're press conference Tuesday?
Yeah. You know what we're great at?
Listening to press conferences?
Breaking down the pressers. We excel at that.
Straight.
Oh, yeah. So Tuesday, 2 to 4 p.m., the first hour will be dedicated to Berube breakdown. So I just wanted to get that in there.
First question, Craig.
I'm sure they're
how
all
are
thrilled
we
in
pronouncing
Vancouver.
Your last name?
Okay. Speaking of Vancouver, let's get Rick Tocchet on our first Kippers Clipper on the overview of the game last night.
Yeah, a lot of effort from a lot of different guys. I mean, almost every single guy gave us everything they had. Resilient. I thought the guys were terrific tonight. They really came to play. It was, obviously one of our best games of the playoffs.
Rick liked it. He said almost everyone. I wonder if there's one guy who's got the...
Doesn't that carry so much more weight that when you are critical and you're honest, and then when you go up there and say that kind of stuff,
people believe you?
It just seems so much more sincere to me.
Vancouver had more points, right? They got home ice advantage, but this is one game away from being a pretty major upset. Upset?
Well, because we don't... This is not the team that went 5-13 to start the season, the Oilers. It's not. They got a new coach, and they were unbelievable for 5 straight months. Like, that's so... To me, the early part of the record that makes them look worse than the Canucks is not
game
accurate.
Away with your third string goalie.
Crazy.
Right?
And he's
not buckling
really good.
At all.
No.
He is not. There's no flinch in him.
No.
Oh, he believes he got that swagger, which is nice. Pickard was good enough for the Oilers. Like, it's not like he was terrible. I mean,
that's what makes the decision kind of.
DiGiuseppe one?
Could drive a Mack truck to that 5-hole for the DiGiuseppe one, but he's been okay. He's Pickard. He's Calvin Pickard.
He gave you a chance to win.
Exactly.
They got 35 shots, and he only gave up 3.
Which makes the decision that much harder.
It is a very tough decision. Doug said he would go back to Skinner.
I would too.
I would too.
They got a clean sweep here, fellas.
Go down with your guy. Yeah, go down with your guy.
You don't want to lose with your, you want to lose with your best players on the ice.
That's easy to say. It's a bing, bing, bing. They're down 3-zip first period. It's like, well, maybe we should have stuck with Pickard.
Whoopsie, but that's the sport. I mean, it can get burned either way.
All right, before the break, we mentioned Chris Kreider's heroic effort last night. Let's go to his head coach on what he saw.
Peter, just sum up what you saw tonight from your guys and the way they battled and came back.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously fighting back in the third period like that. Just our guys have been there before, done that before. We knew that we could score 2 goals in the third period, just I think from confidence of the year that we've had. And but that being said, you got to go out and do the work. And I thought the guys really pressed in the third period. First period was fast. There's hardly any whistles. It went up and down the ice really quick. And second period, I thought the chances went back and forth. Both goaltenders were really good. Some big saves, but it came down to the third period for us where we had to go out and get something done. And I just thought the guys pushed really hard. They never caved on that game. They brought their best in the third period.
What would you rather see next round? Rangers, Boston, Rangers, Florida.
Rangers, Florida.
I think from
The
a
NHL would
original
say-
6. Come on, Rangers,
the
Boston.
But I mean, team-wise, give me the
laundry. We talking laundry?
like laundry. It's Boston, but
I want Boston.
you wouldn't rather see Bennett and
No,
Barkov and the boys.
it's a better
try to go-
series, but there's just tradition. Those two teams.
Yeah, bring me Danton Heinen because of tradition.
No, give me Bruins.
Yeah.
I want Bruins.
No, you're
right.
You're not wrong, and you're not wrong. But
He never said
two
that.
two great markets.
Yeah.
Original 6
Oh, I thought you were including Florida. I was
markets.
like,
We're just
easy.
talking about
Yeah,
markets.
Yeah, for sure.
Two Rangers, Boston would be
awesome
something.
fan
The
bases.
NHL
Oh my
salivating
God.
for that. Bring me that because they're worried about a Dallas Florida
Well,
Cup
listen,
final.
at the end of the day, come on, they don't want Carolina. Who's watching Carolina?
Oh yeah, they're like,
across
oh
the
no,
country?
the Rangers beat Carolina.
That's,
oh no,
that's when it becomes a full regional sport right
that
there
might have
in
been
the
the
U.S.
only game where they took the refs aside and were like, they can't, you can't let that team win.
Felt like that kind of happened in Vancouver last night too. 5 penalties for the Oilers.
They're like, we need McDavid through.
Um,
You like Petey's jump
I want to
charge
hear Rod Brindamore, his comments.
on what?
on his overview of the third period
There
when
we
it
go.
all fell apart.
We started out, actually, it was really good. We were going good, and then obviously that goal was a tough one. You just can't happen. We know that. I mean, you can't give a team like that a goal, and I thought we gave them a couple, and that's really not good. And then the momentum changed a little, and then obviously took a penalty, and their top guys took over in the third there once they got that one, and we had a couple chances. I think we had a breakaway early in the third. And even when we were down 1, we get it right in front all alone. And you got to give them credit. Their top guys stepped up when they needed to.
Not many
basically,
days.
he's saying, Freddie's take a hike.
Not many times I'm just extremely wrong, guys. Extremely wrong on Fred. Thought Fred might find it one year. He's not finding it.
No.
Listen, I'm wrong a lot.
I don't-
What are his Conn Smythe thoughts? Are they good still?
There is, in every one of these huge games, there's always one that kills you
From Freddie.
from Freddie. No
And-
matter
and
what
not
game it is,
Egregious, but God,
Just-
we want that one.
can you just cover the puck?
Yeah, can you not just sit with it against your skate
Cover the
angling
puck.
up into the net?
And, the other goals, sorry, I'm not going to kill him for either of the Kreider goals. It's a tip.
The tip was sick.
Great tip. The one in front of the net, maybe you get a stick on. Your boy Chatfield got barbecued a little bit by
It wasn't great coverage by him. But
Kreider's a horse in front of the net. He's a tough guy to cover.
There's
But
almost another one through that Martinook pulled off the line with an unbelievable save.
amazing play. But here's what I'll say.
Bring me Martinook, by the way.
this was their year, too, because this team is going to kind of blow up a little bit
For
here.
sure.
And they are cheap. They are just cheap.
That's why they
They're
keep
not
trying to win the
paying-
cup with Freddie
They're
Anderson.
not going to pay Martin
Natchez?
Natchez. He wants $8.5 million.
Sure.
He ain't getting it.
Well, here's Kip.
Pesci's not getting it.
This guy's a businessman. If you don't spend to keep good players, no, you don't get playoff games.
Yeah, I know, but he hasn't really. He experienced the kind of
Everyone's
first
equal.
ride of coming up. Take less now, but players are onto him now.
Well, and as the cap goes up and up and up here, it's going to be interesting to see if they continue to be, because the cap was flat for so long that he's been a cap team with everyone else. But as that pulls away, will they keep spending?
Gensel,
I love Gensel. Good
I
trade,
know.
Dubas.
He
Didn't get a
should
first for
sign
him.
him, but he's not going to sign him to 9.5.
Traded
9.
Traded the best guy at the deadline for a second-round pick.
All right.
Three
No,
small
he
prospects
traded him
and
for a first,
and Bunting.
unless they don't win the Stanley Cup or whatever.
Yeah.
It was.
You got any?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just want to grovel. I mean, just bask a little bit more on the afterglow of being so right about Freddie Anderson every year.
You should. So
And
It feels. It just.
He's a
it
nice
feels.
guy,
I'm
too.
never.
I
I'm
like
never
that.
right about
Yeah, he's a
anything.
good guy.
he's a great goalie.
But there's
feel
few
bad for
thi-
him.
I don't-
I don't
Can't handle
feel.
big
I don't feel
moments.
bad for a lot of guys.
You know who you should feel bad for? Jake Gardner, because Jake Gardner in this city,
Wore it on Freddie's behalf.
just an absolute whipping boy for so many Leaf fans. And okay, Jake Gardner, ton of mistakes. We'll never say it. But that game 7, I think it was 2018 in game 7, he let in 3 beer leaguers in the third period.
There's the DeBrusque
The DeBrusque one
It's
under
like,
his leg. It's just like, and then
DeBrusque one's
Gardner's
so bad. I just
Gardner's
rewatched that.
-5. He's -5.
Freddie's got another year too.
Oh yeah, great. They'll go the exact same distance again next year. Anyway,
See, I don't think you can bring him back in that market. Even they,
what that market? They don't care.
no, even like the 3 beat reporters that follow that team will catch on.
There's no way they got 3.
More,
Less.
less,
There's no way there's 3 there.
less than 3.
Yes.
The second that game ended, they're like, "Who's the
Come
starting
on.
center for Duke next year?" Like they do
we're,
not care.
We're like, all right, we need someone for Carolina on the show, and it's like, who they
Okay.
got?
Well, I guess we'll call Tripp again. It's like that's it.
Yeah, he's the color guy. He's not even a reporter.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
The crickets drop.
So I sent out a tweet asking for people's thoughts on Berube, initial thoughts.
Yes.
And people seem to be. How about this one? This is from Michael Corbett. I like the. I think he'll bring accountability and a lot more discipline to the country club lifestyle. That being said, hard-nosed coaches often are under a 2-year benchmark just because of the way they are. Players can go either way with that kind of coaching.
Yeah.
There's a chance that they're paying him to not coach at some point in this 4-year contract.
Yeah, but he didn't run out of steam the way some of the hard-nosed coaches do. Like, their team just didn't win enough, which is why he got fired. Didn't feel like he ran out of personality.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to dive in deeper to the relationship between Doug Armstrong and Berube at the end.
Might be something there. He was there for 6 seasons.
Yeah.
You remember that press conference that Doug Armstrong gave? Like after he fired him, that super like heartfelt one about how he watched it and he just knew and it was time and all that stuff. It felt like it was a really, really hard decision for Doug Armstrong to make.
Yeah, emotional. By the way, shout out to Neil from Oshawa, my guy Neil Gillespie, who texts all the time. And we haven't read his text all year because you don't let me see the text. But shout out to him.
So we still won't read it, but we're just acknowledging that you do send them.
Hey, yeah. Sorry, but I get 1 million texts every day, and we read 3 a week. So sorry, Neil.
Fine if you hate my friend.
Yeah.
Find a good one.
Kind of want to see Mitch Marner playing under Berube, just to see what happened after the first time Berube publicly criticizes him.
It might be different, you know? Like, you know what to expect from Berube.
I like everybody's pointing to Mitch with Berube. I go to Nylander first. Mitch is the only guy with a conscience to play defense.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch has had like 6 breakaways compared to the 100 of Willie floating along the blue line.
But the difference, I think, is that if Berube went to Nylander and said, sit down, you're not playing tomorrow night, he'd be like, free night off. And then he'd be the same guy the next game, whereas I think Mitch might take it harder.
Oh, God.
It's the investment, the emotional
And what do you think
investment.
Berube does when he says, hey, free night off?
Probably doesn't like that either. Maybe benches him again and Willie goes, double time.
So we've done a ton of Leafs, so we've got to do more Vancouver. What were your thoughts on Pettersson's game last night, and was that a big step in the right direction? Cheers from Vancouver, Daniel.
I thought he came out of the gate skating hard.
Okay, how about the call?
Oh, my God.
What's that? What call?
His call for charging.
Yeah, it was one of the most disgraceful calls I've ever seen.
So I've seen everyone say that. I have.
So you think it is?
So
he does jump.
He jumps, and there is a part of the rule that says that you can't jump. But like I'm jumping to save my life.
Well, sure, it's in defense.
I'm not jumping to hurt someone.
Yeah. I'm actively not
initiating
not charging at anyone.
I just thought that if I see that call, like, when was the call?
Charging.
I know, but when in the game?
It was middle of the second period.
Middle of the second period. Like tie game in the third period. I'm going crazy.
It's a bad call.
It's just a bad call.
They shouldn't call.
Yeah, not in
it's
the playoffs.
not
it's
a penalty.
It's just ridiculous.
He's kind of protecting himself, but
it's just crazy. I don't want to see that call ever. He does jump.
That's all.
But if you're a Vancouver fan, you're so happy to see that because I think that's an underrated part of Pedersen's game when he's on is his physicality.
It's got to start somewhere. But when you're making $90 million, you have to help put the puck in the net.
And he did on the winning goal.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. But there needs to be a level of consistency there. And I
all you can do is
earlier
try, and I thought
how,
he tried his ass
how
off.
hard it is for these star players to produce this time of year. But you've got to have more moments than he's had.
I've said it to you before that, I've had a coach that we went through and circled guys and squared guys. And the circled guys, you're hard on and you're in their ear and you're like, this guy might shut it down. A guy like Corey Perry is a square. Who was it that he had his stick to his face? Might have been the game before even. And
oh, gosh.
Do you remember that play?
Yeah,
and it was like the most obnoxious little brother thing. And whatever Canucks player was the bigger man. And to me, they've said, just don't engage with this guy and make him relevant. But with Petey, it would be, all right.
How many points does he have?
Perry?
Corey Perry.
I don't know. It had to be a dash last night. 0. He was bad.
I don't think he scored.
I think he's 0.
He has not looked.
He's got goose eggs. Like, there's a guy that has found a way over the years to produce this time of year.
Yeah.
How old is he? Like, he's getting up there. He looks every bit his age.
Buddy, you wanted him here.
Yeah, I will say fully.
Yeah,
I also
3 years ago.
No, I also wanted Evander Kane here, and he scores a big goal last night. He looked good. Anyways.
What do you think? Listen, I'm jumping the gun here, but what happens to the Oilers if they lose?
Oh, I love it.
Where does it go with McDavid and Draisaitl?
Well, it can't go anywhere. They try to give him all the money.
I'm coming home. I'm coming home.
Draisaitl signing in July.
Tell the world I'm coming
That's
home.
what I'm talking about.
He might want to see the direction.
Yeah. Okay.
One thing I'll say
what kind
about
of direction are you going to see between now and the summer or January or February?
Me a goalie. Go bring me a goaler. That would make me feel a lot better.
And I'll sign 8 years.
Yeah, sure.
He seems much more likely to be like, I'm not a traditional hockey guy, and I'm not going to be like, I just signed him for the good of the team like McDavid might. I think he's a bigger, more dangerous guy to leave than McDavid is.
I think
for
he
sure.
might be like my favorite player in the league.
Draisaitl so good.
And
but
just
it's also
like
the
his
domino
demeanor,
effect.
too.
If he threatens to leave the next year, it's McDavid's turn to sign.
I'm coming home.
Where, buddy? It's like there's not that much salary cap for your Matthews and your Nylander and your McDavid and your Draisaitl in Toronto. I'm sorry.
They got
Wake
Pridham.
up.
They got Pridham. They're fine. He'll figure it out.
Wake up.
He doesn't do magic. He doesn't make numbers change.
Quickly,
That's how big these games are.
Wow,
the future.
stakes, baby.
It's the future of the Oilers and perhaps at stake.
Couple quick Jim Nantz calls for Scotty Scheffler. From the green jacket to the orange jumpsuit, Scotty Scheffler. That's pretty good.
How about this one? From a cell to a celly.
Okay, yeah. I had from a square cell to the winner's circle.
Oh, not bad.
Wow, that's very good.
Not bad.
And I lost the other one. There was very good, and now there's too many texts, and I lost it. So, sorry, guys.
He's in charge of the text, but he loses them.
It's
They
impossible to
just
tell you.
vanish into the air.
I can't explain it on air. I'm not going too inside baseball, but when people text multiple, it pops around. It's very kind of a convoluted system. I wish they just texted my phone.
You need a secretary.
We
You
need admin.
You need an
Someone
assistant.
volunteer to intern. We need help next year.
Oh, my God.
We need someone. We need a body.
Oh, God, I'm embarrassed.
All right. Game 6 tonight.
Give me a score.
Panthers win 3-2 in overtime.
Ooh. Matthew Tkachuk end their season again.
Oh, I like that. Good call. Yep.
All right.
4-3 Bruins OT going 7.
Also OT.
All right.
Dallas Stars get
Enjoy your games tonight. And we are back Tuesday at our, what time, Sammy?
2 to 4.
2 to 4. 2 to 4.
From 2 to 4 on Tuesday. Enjoy your long weekend, everybody. Give us a rating and review if you get a chance.